can you please tell me about yourself and what is your current role and what are your day-to-day activities
Sure.
in your organization?
Thank you for asking. My name is Amarjeet. I'm having 7+ years of experience. Currently, I'm working for the Java development. So the technology which I use,
Seven plus means exactly how many years?
7.4 years.
7.4. And what is the relevant experience?
Same in 7.4 in Java.
Okay. And what's the technology stack? What's the skill set you are using?
Yeah, the technology stack which I have like Java, Spring Boot, microservices, a Spring Cloud component like History, Eureka, Service REST and all, and is a backend and some of the front end experience as Angular. I also have a good experience in AWS cloud services, like most of the services I used in AWS. Database I used like Mongo, Oracle, and all the DevOps tools like which is used for the development and monitor the application like Apache, Maven, Jenkins, Jira, GitHub, ELK, Splunk and all. So these all are the technology stack which I worked.
Okay. AWS also you used.
Yeah.
AWS. And what about any Azure or GCP? Do you have
Azure,
any
I have
experience?
experience, some of the less experience, 6 month to 1 years experience I have. Two, three services I worked on Azure when I was deployed in different project, but mostly familiar about this AWS services.
Primary, any other secondary skills you have?
Yeah, the secondary stack skills which I told like
You are also good. You are a full stack user, right? You also have experience in Angular and React also, right?
Angular, React, and all have less experience, like 6 month to 1 years. Mostly, I worked on Java backend with AWS and cloud services. So cloud, I told like all the services I used
Secondary
like.
skill set. Secondary skill set I can mention as Angular and
Can you speak
React.
loudly? Actually, I'm not able to hear properly. Hello.
Is it audible? Is it better now?
No, not yet.
Hello.
There is a less voice is coming.
Okay. Can I ask
Yeah. Now it's fine.
what was? Okay. Can I ask HR to join the call to check the voice clarity and all?
Now it's fine.
Now is that okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's continue. Okay, Angular and React I'm mentioning as second skills.
Yeah,
Okay.
secondary skills.
And what's the domain? Which domain are you working currently?
Domain mostly I worked on banking, telecom, e-commerce, and health. Currently, I'm working for the health insurance project. So different type of domain I worked in this experience.
So let's start with the basic Java questions. Okay.
Sure.
So let's. What's the difference between extension class loader and application class loader in your JVM?
Yeah. So while you are writing any application Java file, so that Java file will be converted from dot Java to dot class file. So in that cases, three load class loader file will be loaded. One is the bootstrap class loader extension and class loader. So bootstrap class loader will start the applications where your JVM and all will be executed. Extension like what are the dependent library and jar will be there. Like JVM will call to execute this Java file. And class loader, while your Java will compile, so JVM will come in this pictures, that will be platform dependent. And then in that cases, while running this application, so that class file will be generated. So that class file will call like a.java file will be generated a.class file. So the all the class loaders respective class files will be loaded, and based on that your output will come in this console.
Okay. And okay, that's fine. And extension class loader, okay, class loader of system.
Yeah,
What is the class loader? What's the exactly how it is different from Bootstrap class loader? What's the difference?
Bootstrap class loader is a starting class loader while you want to run or create a project, Java project. So all the starting of Bootstrap class loader will call. And extension class loader, once you need a like a Java application to run, for that what are the respective library and jar file is required. So that boot extension class loader will call this all the respective library to execute this process.
Okay. And next question would be, so you know, have you worked on polymorphism?
Yeah, polymorphism I worked.
So how is what is dynamic polymorphism?
Dynamic polymorphism will achieve at runtime, so that runtime is we can say like overriding and all. So while we need to come polymorphism nothing but like we need to express the our requirement in one to another form. So that is called form of polymorphism, which will be applicable on runtime. So suppose we have a multiple method, so that method will have a executed from one class to another classes, and we'll have a multiple method with same name and same argument. So that argument
What is a marker? That's fine. What is a marker or tagged interface?
Markup interface is an interface which have don't have any definition and implementation is there in that. That is called markup interface. Like we have a multiple inbuilt markup interface which we used for the serializations, clonables and all. So that serializations will have a serialized and clonable will have a clone, so that our applications will be like a clone the exact copy, or serializations once we want to convert data from one network to another network. So there is a serial version UID that will be converted or convert. So that type of things we have like serializations. Another what you told?
Okay. Um, you and what are the methods of object class? Can you name some methods of object class?
Yeah, object class have multiple methods are there, like equals method, clone method, hash code.
What is the difference between this wait and sleep?
Yeah, wait and sleep is a part of thread. So while if you want to process the thread, multiple process will be started is called a thread. So there simultaneously at a time only one thread will be executed, another thread will be waiting condition. So once one thread will be completed, then they will notify the B thread, so that B thread will start as a synchronization communications or process. It's called wait. And sleep is based on this will be executed on this method level, and thread wait conditions will be applicable on this class level. So both are used for this to wait the particular millisecond of time. So suppose if you have mentioned sleep, then sleep will work on particular millisecond of time, so that once this will completed, then other thread will come in this pictures and try to execute the operations.
So in wait also you have timeout method, right?
Yeah, wait also will be there, but wait will be happen through this like a class levels locking, but that will be sleep will have a method level locking.
Okay. What is reflection API?
Reflection API is used for to achieve the runtime mechanism, or runtime mechanism. Like at a time of runtime, if you want a required of based on that, then we can like whatever the IDE and all we used, that is called achieve a reflection mechanism. Like if you want a Java related IDE, so you have to select this Java project in this Eclipse and STS. So based on Java selection, all the things will be loaded. If you want the other .NET, so that reflection will come in these pictures, and then based on that scenario, that will be all the things will be loaded.
I want to override like when a parent class method declares a checked exception, okay?
Yeah.
And child class overriding method, can it declare a subtype, super type of checked exception of that checked exception?
No, if you have mentioned this parent class has a checked exception, and if you are trying to achieve this supersite, that will be happen some exception, like some errors will come, like that scenario will happen from child to parent, not parent to child. So exception hierarchy will come if you have handled the parent exception, then you won't be handle this child exception. If you can handle this child to parent, that will be fine.
No, my question is like a child class overriding method.
Hmm.
Should it have the subtype of the checked exception or a super type of the checked exception?
Super type of checked exception.
Like for example, if my parent class method is throwing some SQL exception, okay?
Okay. Hmm.
Can the overriding method, same method in the child class, can it have can it throw exception class?
No, exceptions class won't be either. SQL exceptions will be thrown, or maybe inside that subclass exceptions will throw. Not a parent class will be thrown.
Okay, in streams. Okay. Have you used streams?
Yeah, Java 8 streams, right?
Yeah. What
Stream.
is the difference between byte based and character based? Two types of streams, no? We can create
Yeah.
byte based and character based. What's the difference?
Byte base or
Character based.
yes.
When we will go for character based input output streams?
Okay.
If I
Yeah.
want
So.
to read, if I want to read
Mhm.
from if my basic if I'm handling files, okay,
Mhm.
what would be my input and output streams in case of character based? What is the input stream I can use? What input stream I can use? So I'm handling files.
Okay.
Can you tell some input stream for handling files which is character based?
Mostly we while we use the input streams and all, then we have a serialized, deserialized.
I'm asking about the name of the input stream.
File input, file output, file reader, file writer.
What is the byte based and that is file reader, file writer in case of character based. Okay.
Yes.
In case of stream byte based,
Mm-hmm.
what would be the input and output streams?
Byte based, like okay, byte based. Uh,
Okay, no problem. Can you tell me the life cycle of a thread?
Yeah, thread
What is
life
the
cycle.
difference?
Yeah, thread life cycle will be a start from instantiations, like which will be a start from the thread, and then that will be go for the new conditions. Then I start the thread, then that will be initialized, and then thread will be executed. And after that, if thread have any failure, so that will be go for the dead conditions, or maybe that will be go for the either if conditions has satisfied, then it will go for wait conditions or sleep, and then thread will have a end or terminate. If
What is in Spring Boot? In Spring Boot, how do you handle the exceptions?
exception handle in a Spring Boot is a exception handler advice. Through that we can create a exception. What are the common exceptions will be generated, that we can handle through the Spring Boot. Also, we can create some custom exception which is required for the microservice layer or application based, that we can handle through the exception.
How to write custom directives? How to write custom directives?
Custom directives.
Yeah. Annotations, custom annotations.
Okay, custom annotations. Yeah, you can create a custom annotations also. Like create a interface where you want whatever the annotations which you want, and after that you have to mention the retentions and all there on the class level, and then uh, then if you'll go for the internal implementation of any custom annotations, there we have like a creator interface that which will be mentioned, and after that added retentions and type and all, and then we will add the business logic.
And what is the structure of a JWT token?
Yeah, JWT token is a Java Web Tokens which will be provided to authenticate the API while we need to communicate from one API to another API in microservice level or outside. So that structures will be happen for SHA 256 algorithm. So there is some hexadecimal numeric alphanumeric codes will be generated once the that is called bearer token will be there.
How it is this alphanumeric separated with?
Yeah, so that algorithm is uh, separated with this one SHA 256 algorithms which will be followed internally while we use a JWT token dependency in our applications, and we need to add like we need to get the username and password for the particular users which we want to communicate from one API to another API, and then the algorithm which will take the data, and according to that they will create a some alphanumeric value based on SHA 256.
And if I want to like if I want to restrict some requests from specific IP address, some different requests are coming to my load balancer, and in AWS using AWS, if I want to restrict some of the requests coming from some of the IP addresses,
Yeah.
how can I do that?
Yeah, so we have in AWS service we have a routing mechanism. So that routing mechanism will have like inbound and outbound services. So inbound and outbound. So based on that, what type of request or connection you want to perform, either TCP and other connections, and which what type of request will come from the inbound, either which IP if you want to block, that we can like there we can handle this in AWS services.
Okay. And if you want to, and if you are using microservices, if I want to communicate from one microservice to another microservice, how can I achieve the communication between microservices?
Yeah, if
microservice to microservice communication.
Yeah, microservices communications which will happen by using two ways. One is REST template call, another will be have a Kafka or any messaging queue implementation. So if you want asynchronous communications, like multiple microservice will communicated with a microservices, and based on that they will get the request and update the request and all. So that cases we can go for any messaging queue. So that either Kafka or RabbitMQ and all.
What is Zookeeper in Kafka? What is Zookeeper?
What is?
Zookeeper.
Okay, Zookeeper is like a monitoring tools while you handle this Kafka or creating a Kafka. So Zookeepers will take like what are the topic, what are the replications, which request producers is generating the details, and how we will connect with this consumers and all. So they mostly Zookeepers will monitor those applications which has been in Kafka messaging queue.
what is offset in the topics? Like if we have a topic set in that, what is the term offset? What does it mean? What is it used for?
Yeah, so offset is like what when we created a cluster, that cluster will have a multiple topic. So that topic will be defined as a partitions that will be defined in the multiple chunk of request for the particular topic, and then the partitions will have a different type of chunks. So that chunk also will have created a offset. So that offset, based on the offset, they will know like this type of request is for the this partitions and this or the topic. So for that we will process the request as a fastest based on the offset we will create. It's a dividations of partitions.
Okay. Okay. Um, and can you name some of the design patterns which are used in
Depends on the requirement. Microservices we used API, Saga, and CQRS and all. But other in Go Java we used like Singleton, Factory, DAO, abstractions,
distributed
MVC.
handling, distributed transaction handling? You said Saga design pattern,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So how does it internally? How does it handle the transaction management? How does it do?
Yeah, internally what will happen, like we have a multiple microservices are there, and all microservices depend on each others, and they will create a sub transaction. So once a microservice has performed the operations, they will commit the code of based on the transaction T1, that is called sub transaction, not a final transactions. And once the final microservices will complete and all the services validations has completed with this transaction successfully commit for the sub transaction, then final commit will happen. If any in between, if any microservices has failed or something happen, then what happen, that logic will have a revert of all the respective microservices who has created a sub transaction as commit, that will be rolled back. So Saga will come in this pictures to manage the transactions with the respective all the microservices. Yeah.
Okay, what is your where you're working currently? Which organization?
Synchron I worked that
And any specific domain do you have experience? You have also worked in telecommunication, right?
yeah,
E-commerce, insurance,
yes.
transportation. Do you have? Did you work in telecommunications domain
Yeah,
previously?
when I was in Infosys in that time, I worked on telecom domain that is called VoIP project. So it's a Verizon project based on that.
Okay. And in Java 8, can you please name? Can you write what is functional programming? What is
Functional
functional
programming
programming?
is a way which have a single abstract method
I
will be
just
there.
view one. Can you write a program?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, array is equal to. I'm just giving a piece of
Uh-huh.
code for you. Okay. You got that, right? I
Yeah.
want you to read this array list
Uh-huh.
and then convert that first three characters ABC into capital letters
Okay.
using can you write some functional programming,
Okay.
Java functional programming?
Java functional with that. Okay. Yeah. This one, and this. We can use caret also there.
What do you want to use?
First, what will happen? Like we will put it in this, like first we have to create a char length, and then char length we will execute the process one by one, and we will iterate this value from 0 to 3 with capital letter.
So let me know once you are done with that.
Yeah, sir.
Can you share your screen also?
Sure. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, like that we can do for 3 character.
And what is the flyway design pattern?
Flyway design pattern. Okay. I think it's a part of modifications, creational modificational design. Flyway design pattern which is used for this database migration. While we want to migrate from one database to another database, so that cases we can go for the flyway design pattern. Suppose if existing microservices is SQL, now we need to go for the Mongo template and all, so that flyway design pattern will migrate this database from one to another easily.
Okay. What is the data type which we use for saving saving images in MongoDB?
Yeah, so while you want to save the images, so we have a like a blob and clob. So that blob will use a binary large object, and clob is used for character large object. So while you want to go for the video and imaging and all, in that cases we can use blob.
So and one more thing, like did you use Docker and Kubernetes for deployment?
Yeah. While we created microservices, we created Docker image, and the Docker image will deployed in
What are the
Kubernetes, so that
commands?
pods and all will
Docker
be created.
commands. And what is the Docker commands?
Docker command will have a like a Docker's version, Docker creating image, and then Docker run, Docker execute, and
Okay,
then.
okay. I'm done with your interview. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll pass on the feedback. So I have another call lined up.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for joining. Let me take one photograph of yours. Okay.
sure.